Good evening, y'all. So today I decided to tell my story of where I am now in my life. So a couple of months ago, I was living in New York. I had just moved there back in February. I moved there to pursue my dreams of being a stand-up comedian. Well, I wanted to start out my comedy career as a stand-up and then eventually go into movies and stuff like that. I want to be a comedic actor. And it's not funny, but when I said it on the stage in New York, and the audience that was mainly like men, they all laughed at me. That was funny. But, anyways, as I was saying, I was living in New York, pursuing my dreams of being a stand-up comedian, and then, it wasn't just that, I also was being a mom. So, I wish I could find the videos of me on stage because I had a couple of people record me, but I was being a stand-up comedian with my son on the stage. So the first time, I had to back out because he wouldn't stop crying. He didn't like the room. It was so dark. Second time, I backed out again. Third time, killed it. Yeah, he was crying though, so the fact that I killed it and he was crying at the same time, I got the juice. But fast forward to today, I've left New York and have moved back in with my mom. And the reason why I did that because it was the best decision I could have done for my life. And the biggest part of my life is being a mom. Me, Tamara, mom, it's one. And so, and also, I've learned a lot along the way. Advocating for my son is a must. He is autistic, and I also think I'm autistic. I know I have ADHD, but to just be a parent and to have my own mental challenges and to have my son who's autistic, I had to learn the hard way. Like, in New York, I was a teacher. I was a preschool teacher, and so I was able to bring my son with me to work. And in the beginning, it was very rough because my boss just thought it was okay for me and my son, who's very sensitive to a lot of things that I didn't even know until we were put in the environment to find out that he doesn't like loud noises. And so I got to see how he would react when being in a room full of other 2-year-olds. They were loud, some would cry, some would scream out of happiness, but he would just be doing like this, and like his face was red. And I didn't realize that, wow, my son does not like loud noises. Not to mention having to share me with other kids. And so going through that experience, and then eventually he went to another classroom, but I realized that I had to really advocate for him. Right now he's having to need help eating by himself because he doesn't want to touch certain foods, like cheap chips and stuff. But just working with him and getting to see how he would be in an environment of the daycare, the group childcare thing, I realized that this isn't good for my son. He needs to be in an environment where he's going to be helped the way that he needs help. And if this is going to be a learning environment, then he needs to have a teacher to teach him in a way that he can understand. And so right now, my son is now receiving speech and occupational therapy, which he could have, I was in the process of getting in New York before I moved, but he has easier access to it. And he also has an ABA therapist who is really great with him. So really, I moved back to Virginia to live with my mom because of the stress. Because the stress of just being alone in New York City. That took a toll on me. I became very paranoid. I started to think that people were following me, which one occasion one man really was. Just the craziness of living in Manhattan. I was living in a shelter for families because that was honestly the cheapest way to me eventually getting my own apartment, and I was so close. But I ended up losing my job because my boss was not willing to cooperate with me and my son. I did not want to just feed my son at a late time and to be out in busy ass New York City after 6 o'clock. She wouldn't accommodate a schedule that would just accommodate me as the type of mom that I am. After 6, I don't want to work. And I tried to tell her, girl, I would die. But she didn't want to listen. And so I just kind of was asking to be fired. Every time she put me on the schedule to 6, I just didn't show up. And that led to, she said, if you don't show up tomorrow, you don't work here anymore. And so I thought about it and I said, all right. But when that happened, I ended up losing my voucher to my apartment. So I was about to move into an apartment, but there's requirements that you need to have to be eligible for your voucher. And the DHS person who was working with me said that I wasn't eligible for my voucher. And from that point, I was hopeless. And it was like, I'm just going to go back home. But it turned out, because not even a week later, my caseworker, who was working on the case. So let me just say this about New York. New York, you can pretty much get away with anything. And they're sneaky. And when I say them, like people up here, they can do things that they're really not supposed to do, but they'll just do it for you. Like even my caseworker, she was willing to do stuff for me. I'm like, you don't have to do that, but thanks. No thanks. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah. Yeah, when I moved back to Virginia, they called me from the shelter saying that, hey, can you come sign some paperwork for your apartment? And I was like, wait a minute. The other person working with me said that I wasn't eligible, and you're saying that you can do it for me? And she was like, well, you should have just waited and communicated with us, and we would have had it all worked out for you. Meaning she was going to do something under the table to still make me eligible. But I didn't want to take that risk, and I was already gone. And so now here I am really pushing YouTube and social media, because I'm not going to give up on my dream just because I'm starting over. Yes, it almost feels like impossible. Like, how the heck am I going to be a comedian when I have very little support? I live with my mom, but, and this is no offense to anything about her, she just has to be in her own space. Because my mom and I, we used to have a really rocky relationship, but now, here they come. Now, it's a lot better. Because I don't know what happened when I moved to New York. And now that I come back, she's a lot nicer. But yeah, that's just where I am right now. Trying to figure out what my next move is as a aspiring comedian. And just being a comedian is my own dream. I really want to be a gracious and loving and just the best mom I can be. So those are my 2 dreams right now, and I'm pursuing them. So that is what my stage of life is right now. Me pursuing these dreams and hoping that they come true. I have a lot of decisions to make, but I'll always know that I have to put my son first, and I have to put me, taking care of me, making sure I'm alright. I'm about to end this video because I don't want people looking at me, especially my mom, even though I just talked about her. But yeah, quick little story time. We'll do this again. That's all.